Further ado, let's let them on stage. Walking Dead Universe Chief Content Officer Scott M. Gimble.
Yeah, Scott!
Showrunner and Executive Producer David Zabel.
Mr. Zabel!
Daryl, Executive Producer. Executive Producer and Director Greg Daryl. Daryl. It's Executive Producer and Star Norman. All right. Well, hi guys. Very, very good to see you all here at Comic-Con here in San Diego. I'd like to start with a question to our showrunner, David. You can tell from the trailer for season 3, it's a different aesthetic from the 2 previous seasons set in France. How would you describe the feel and tone of season 3 of Daryl Dixon?
Yeah, I mean, part of what was exciting was being able to kind of reinvent the show in season 3 by just going across the border from France into Spain, where the architecture is different, the culture is different, the history is different, the language, and so it really brings a whole new vibe and feel, the color, the way the sun hits the sky, and there's sort of a dry dustiness to a lot of the storytelling, and we really leaned into all those elements of Spain to make the show feel like a whole different incarnation of what we've seen in France. It just, you know, we just get benefits all the time out of the people and the environment that we're in Spain, like we did in France. Sort of same experience, but in a totally different environment.
Scott, as the man who oversees this universe, what would you say was the motivation to take the series to Spain? Was that always the plan to kind of move us from country to country?
We got the ball rolling in France, but David took the ball random to Spain.
Well, part of it was because by nature the show wants to be a road show, right? These 2 characters are trying to get somewhere, so they're not going to just stagnate and stay in one place. So we told the story over the course of 2 seasons in France that we felt like we had really fully realized, and it felt like they wanted to propel forward. So Daryl and Carol at the end of season 2 are headed someplace else, and before they get to Spain, they make a stop somewhere else. And so it really came out of that idea that like these are characters who are on the road trying to get home, and they keep getting drawn into stories in other environments that compel them while they're trying to serve their own desire to see the people they love again.
And the landscape, the tone, it's a reinvention. Back in the day, we used to reinvent the show every 8 episodes. That's what David and his team did here. And just being in Spain and seeing these locations, it takes your breath away. And then the things that you got story-wise from Spain, history, and also a bit of a Western element. It's fantastic.
And that was one of the things, that was a big deal in France. We really leaned into sort of World War II history and World War II films about France and art films. And here we lean into the spaghetti Western, a lot of which we made in Spain. And so a lot of the storytelling evolved out of thinking about the world of Spain and also the kinds of stories that have been told in that environment.
Norman, when we left... When we left season 2, Daryl had lost Isabel. He had watched Laurent go on the plane to hopefully get back to his people in America. When we pick up in season 3, where's he at emotionally right now?
He's pretty fucked up. You know, having Carol with him, I think, helps him a lot. You know, there's sort of a theme that goes through towards the end of the show about why and where and how come. You know, there's a lot of running, a lot of fighting. Maybe there's a better way to live, so that's sort of introduced there. And I think part of the Isabel conflict with him is him coming to these realizations that, you know, you've been running and fighting for a long time. So we sort of structured the show in a way where different people's journeys sort of fill that gap in their mind, you know? So,
yeah. Melissa, in season 2. Carol comes back, and Carol is searching for her friend, and she has found him. They've reunited, and I wonder for you, is that determination, now that she's found Daryl, is that determination to get home? Is that still sort of her guiding light here at the end of season 3?
Well, looking around, you know, it's really beautiful over there. I don't know if that's high on your priority. Just take a little time, take some time off, have a vacay, really hard before, and then we'll worry about it.
Yeah. Did you get some R&R in Spain, hopefully?
Yeah, she saw her laying on the beach.
The beach episode's gonna be fun, where it's just sunbathing, just hanging out. I think it's gonna be a really good one.
it's not like that.
I was in there.
There was
I think we saw that.
like a converto in that.
You do get to unwind a little bit in season 3, you know, you do. But, you know, we don't need to talk about it.
Of course. That's going to be a priority, trying to get back home.
At least one of us got to unwind. So.
David, through the first 2 seasons of Daryl Dixon, there was a lot of painstaking work that went into not just, you know, reestablishing this bond between Daryl and Carol, but also all these other characters that entered the fray. And now with the change of setting, it's also an opportunity for a change in the cast as well. So how quickly are we going to see Daryl and Carol forming those new bonds? We're going to get out of vacation mode and get back to America. They're going to need some friends to help them.
Yeah, there's not much vacation mode at the top. They pretty immediately in episode 1 are propelled into a story with a character that they come across. And like all of our stories, what it is a combination of Daryl and Carol trying to serve their own needs and desires, but then also getting hooked into someone else's story, which is an interesting conflict for heroes to be in, because they want what they want, but they also find compelling dramas around them that they ultimately get sucked into. So Stephen Merchant, who's in episode 1, you see that kind of story like that with him, with Daryl and Carol. And then once we get to the next place, you know, they, similar to season 1, they come across circumstances and characters who can be useful to them for what they're trying to do, but then are experiencing their own drama that Daryl and Carol get compelled into.
And I will say about that first episode, Stephen Merchant from The Office is in it. I will say that Carol and Daryl, you know, we've seen them have intense moments, but, you know, early on, they were very funny together. And I will say, they have some of their funniest moments in that episode. They almost out-funny Stephen Merchant.
Wow.
It's fun to have him in the mix here, for sure. I'd love to stay on that, actually, for a second. You know, Norman, we know that Stephen Merchant, he is going to be on the season this year. What was it like working with him and bringing him into the mix?
He's really, really tall.
Tall man, yeah.
Really tall. You know, I sort of expected him to be funny all the time, and the role that he plays has little hints of funny, but he's a very serious actor. He'll surprise you in this because he does hard drama really well, and he's a very endearing person. He's very intelligent, so he kind of reads you. He's sort of reading them, but on set he reads you too. He's a really cool guy.
And so much of that episode is the 3 of them together. But it was just super exciting from the very beginning when we cast Stephen to think like, okay, we're going to play all these scenes between Melissa and Norman and Stephen Merchant, and the payoff, it was just huge creatively. Like the 3 of them having these scenes that a lot of them are dramatic, but there is room for some humor and sort of sweetness and tenderness in there too. It's great stuff for the 3 of them, and that's really sort of the centerpiece of the first episode.
You know, it's also different because the way the show is perceived in Europe, it has a really unique fan base. A lot of the people in the UK, France, and Spain, they're really passionate about the show. It's not as passionate as you guys are, but Steven was really excited to be there. Like on the first day of shooting, I was like taking pictures of the three of them on set together, and he's like, show me, and I would walk over. He was like really excited to be in the show with Norman and Melissa. So being able to sort of translate, you know, the excitement of The Walking Dead and embrace what the European community and the European actors can bring to the table. It's a nice, welcome, you know, change.
Yeah, there's a fire in Spain. Everyone's got this heat to them, and you see it on camera. Like the crew, the cast, everybody is they're very passionate people. And like we showed this trailer, a version of this trailer to the crew that they put together, and they freaked out. There's like certain things in the trailer that are particularly Spanish. Just like when we're in France, we have French little Easter eggs, as you call them. So
We try to be really good about that. We try to be really good about not just being like these Americans coming in to do an American story in a foreign place. We try to really like understand and use elements of the culture that we go into, whether it's France or Spain. We have 2 Spanish writers on the writing staff, like we have French writers on the first 2 seasons, to keep us real and to keep it. And I think the local people we work with and the local fans in those places really appreciate that. They appreciate that there's an authenticity about the show. You know, that we're bringing these American characters in.
They did serve turkey on Thanksgiving.
It was hard to find. It was not easy.
But that was very nice.
I would love to know a little bit more about some of the characters we're going to get into this season. David, I'm to understand that there's maybe a little bit of a Romeo and Juliet thing going on with some of our characters this year.
Yeah, so at the heart of the story that Daryl and Carol get drawn into is this story of conflicted love in the apocalypse. And that really was a major sort of overlying theme of the season. Not just love in the apocalypse, but also sort of human connection in the broken world. And so these 2 young actors, Hugo Arguez and Candela Seita, play these characters who are very much in love, but whose families are at odds with each other. And they're drawn into a much bigger, much more high stakes issue within what's happening in Spain at the time. And that becomes sort of the trigger for the bigger story with a bunch of other characters and a bunch of other elements that we get drawn into. But it's a great way to sort of reflect on, you know, the attempt to preserve the possibility of love in the apocalypse and the attempt for young people to try